very short interaction. The DLS sent me this, that I should speak on the club administration with particular attention given to our governance documents and also to our club admin and some areas that we have to look at. So the learning objective is very, very clear, and I'll pick it from about 3 areas. And I'll pray you flow with me when we look at these objectives. First of all, we'll look at the governance documents. We'll look at it from the angle of the concept, understanding the concept, sharing the examples of the document itself, looking at the purpose of a Rotary club, very important for us to know why we are a Rotary. Then looking very critically at one of the most beautiful aspects of Rotary, and that is our club administration and succession processes. Then I will hinge and finally anchor with many meeting types and procedures, because I found out that we have about 5 different meeting types in our Rotary experience. So I'll ask that you just listen quietly to me and beg those that are coming into the meetings to please kindly just mute so that we can all enjoy these very few minutes. And if you are not muting, you are not making this thing exciting. Fellow Rotarians, we will first of all look at the governance documents, which is sincerely the provision of the structure of Rotary International's policies and procedures. One of the beauties of this organization, why it has enjoyed these almost 120 years in about 3 months, is the structured nature of how Rotary is being managed. And this structured nature is not like the unwritten rules that the United Kingdom does. Written in documents that you can move with. And these documents have been so flexible, but at the same time, documents that you can rest on at any given point in time in managing Rotary. And I will first of all take on the constitutional documents. The constitutional documents, sometimes you will intertwine the constitutional and the governance documents. They are all in the same ensemble, but the basic thing is that the constitutional documents only get revised after 3 years. And the constitutional documents of Rotary, we have the Constitution, we have the bylaws, we have the standard Rotary Club Constitution, and these documents are updated triennially at the Council of Legislation. And if you push further to the governance documents that we have, Rotary's governance documents, these are the ones that can be updated sometimes through the Council of Resolution, through ROI board meetings, through meetings of the foundation trustees, and most of this come out in an annual thing, and it's almost like a working document, especially the Rotary, the codes of conduct, codes of policies, which Rotary has as the ROCP, and we also have the Rotary Code of Policies for the Rotary Foundation Code of Policies. When you put all this together, we'll move to the very next aspect of this, and this is what Rotary serves us. And in this document, in this publication, that's the Manual of Procedure, which we normally call the MOP, or is a concise version of every document that Rotary has that helps in managing this unique organization. And everything you have, as regards the constitutional document, the governance documents, are all embedded in the Manual of Procedure. My dear fellow Rotarians, for those of us that might not know, the Manual of Procedure is a publication that is done every 3 years, and it reflects all the updated constitutional documents and the changes adopted at the Council of Legislation. The legislation process of Rotary is very exciting. If you go through how resolutions are sent in, the processes, the timelines, you know that Rotary is just too organized. And if you follow down on all what is contained in the governance, in the Manual of Procedure, which is now getting a lot thinner. I remember when I joined Rotary years ago, I think in the tail end of the late 2000, the Manual of Procedure then used to be very bulky. But now, a portion of it has been taken out that has not changed. But every year, every 3 years, the thing becomes leaner. 2013, 2016, 2019. Now we are using the 2022 manual of procedure, which by June 30th, 2025 will be rested. My dear fellow Rotarians, when we flow to the other two ends of the governance documents of Rotary International, we will have to talk about the Rotary Code of Policies. This is more of the general, a compilation of the organization's general and permanent policies. And the revised version is always available after the meeting of the RI board and the meeting of the Council of Resolution. And these separate documents, there's always a separate document that outlines the amendments anytime any part of the ROCP is amended. For those that are taking time to look at the Rotary Code of Policies, you will understand how fluid that administrative document is. Because most of the things you find in the Constitution might have been stressed. But I can tell you that whatever is in the manual, in the Code of Policies, never negates what is in the Constitution or in the constitutional documents of Rotary International. But let me leave this by taking us to an area that really concerns us very deeply and very seriously as Rotarians, and that is the bylaw. Every club must have a bylaw. And this bylaw is supposed to be localized to address issues as it pertains to each club. Rotary International has designed a recommended Rotary Club bylaws. We provide the structure and helps clubs govern themselves. What you have in Osogbo might be different from what the other club has in Ibadan. So the bylaw is tailored to meet the particular needs or circumstances in each of those Rotary clubs. Even when clubs can tailor the bylaws, there is also a provision that you must, at any point, at every point, keep the changes in your bylaw to align with Rotary's constitutional documents and the Rotary Code of Policies. But I can tell you, wherever there is a deviation or there is a conflict, the constitutional documents take precedence. It becomes a primary document compared to what the bylaw says. So the bylaw is secondary to the constitutional documents. And when the bylaw is being amended, we also will come to the process of amendment of the bylaw. I am stressing on this bylaw because this is where we have problems in most of our clubs. I remember when PDG Jumoke Bamiboye was district governor. Dolu and I were with her when we visited the club. We were surprised that on the bylaw of the Rotary Club that we visited, the name of the charter president was on the bylaw. That every year as you move down the line, he remains what he said he wants to be in the bylaw of the club. That's how important that document is. It was wrong for that Rotarian to have put his name on the bylaw, and the DG immediately asked that the bylaw should be amended to take out those sick areas that most charter presidents do with their club bylaws. But one thing I have to tell us at this point is that the bylaw can only be amendable by members or amendable by members of the Rotary Club. I'll go through the last on the governance documents by just sharing with us the amendment authorities. ROI zone is very clear. The board of directors, the delegates at ROI convention, our delegates to the Council of Legislation. We know that every district in the 534 districts in Rotary has at least one representative that goes for every 3 years to the Council of Legislation. And you and I also pay $1 each towards the management of the activities of the Council of Legislation. Lawmaking in Rotary is very important and very serious. And when you move further to the district level, resolutions for districts at district levels, which only delegates, club delegates, not too much of a time to break down on what constitute the delegates or representation of a Rotary club, because delegate representation in clubs is still based on the numerical strength of the clubs. I'll go finally to those who can amend the bylaws of a club. And at the club level, only members of the club can amend the bylaw. The 1/3 to 1/3 comes into play. I really don't know why the district governor, a lawyer, and the district leadership, any facilitator decide to make an engineer like me speak to this legal aspect of Rotary. And in this, it is 1/3 of the 2/3. In a 63-member club, taking a club of 63 members as an example, 21 persons must be seated before they can amend the bylaw of that club. And out of the 21 members seated, 14 must vote for that change to occur. 1/3 gives you 21 out of 63, and 14 gives you 2/3 out of 21 present. But I can tell you, most clubs, the president can decide to just remove some things. It's been happening, and I pray some of these things will begin to change with time. My dear fellow Rotarians, with this, I will just run quickly through the purpose of a Rotary Club. The purpose of a Rotary Club, which also dwells on why are we here. We all know that Rotary is an apolitical and a secular organization. Keep your politics to yourself and keep your religion to yourself. It must not cross the line of the other. But we should always remember that the primary purpose of a Rotary Club is to create positive change in the world, in our communities, and most importantly, in the members. And this purpose encompasses also pursuing the 4 objects of Rotary. A Rotary Club and the purpose of our gathering should, at the end of every Rotary year, must have been able to execute successful projects based on the 5 areas of focus. And if we have to talk about execution of projects, pushing the principles of the object of Rotary, we should also try in every way and manner to advance Rotary towards strengthening our membership, because membership is Rotary and Rotary is membership. And if we have to get all this done, let's not forget that the discussion of the talks about the Rotary Foundation today, and we celebrate the fact that Rotary has taken polio out of planet Earth, it is still part of what we enjoy today by our contributions to the Rotary Foundation. District 9125 is the only district now in Nigeria that is enjoying the program of scale. What is the program of scale which is coming from Rotary Foundation? $2 million voted to just one project. My dear fellow Rotarians, we cannot belong to clubs if we can't develop leaders beyond the club level. These purposes, if you put them all together, the promotion of integrity is key. Encouraging members to uphold high ethical standards. I remember one puzzle PDG Tolu threw at us at one ROLI meeting. No time to go through that puzzle now. If I throw that thing on the floor now, many persons, there will be a strong divide on both sides of do and don't. But let me tell you, my dear fellow Rotarians, the 4-way test, the 24 words in the 4-way test have been able to really, if kept, strengthen the integrity quotient of any Rotarian. What am I saying this evening? We all have a strong reason to be in Rotary, and our purpose is clear. Moving further into this presentation this evening, I want to speak on the club administration. Rotary is so organized that you can look at this photograph and you see 3 years right in front of you. Most clubs have this also. If this organization is not that exciting, not that organized, you will not sit. I can tell you now that there is no state in Nigeria, even our country, Nigeria, that can tell you that they know the next president or they know the next governor. We only can just take a guess. Maybe Tinubu will just win the second term if he does it the Nigerian way. But in Rotary, it is not so. I know the next governor of District 9126. I know the man Batife will hand over to Oki, and Oki is in the house this evening. So that is the beauty of this organization that we all belong to. So, but for us to discuss the uniqueness of this organization as it relates to this meeting this evening, we will look at these 5 areas: election to membership, attendance requirements, election of club officers, board responsibilities, and our club committee structure. I will run through this because I want to believe that most of us know, but let's assume that some of us don't know. So I will just touch briefly on them in a way that we'll understand better. Election to membership. It is an article in a Rotary club, the recommended Rotary Club bylaw, and it deals with the method of electing members to a club. When I say electing, I mean pushing towards the induction of a member, proposing a prospect towards membership. Rotary calls it an election to membership. And a member, just like you and I, introducing somebody to our club or to another club, it becomes the duty of the membership committee. You take it up and the board takes it up after the membership committee has done its bit. And this is done based on when that member, who we have all seen, oh, this person can be part of us. We now see that this person has everything that we want, or this person is tripped about being a part of us. Let's not forget that you only invite to Rotary. And at the end of the day, the person is pushed for processing in membership committee level, interviews, getting to know the person, and now the person is proposed to the board. My dear fellow Rotarians, it is the duty of the board to approve the election of the application to membership of any prospect. But I have found out that sometimes only presidents just do it because of I have handled membership for 3 years and I know what I'm talking about now. We can go back to the basics. The membership committee processes, it takes to the board accepts, and the board also has a reason and has rights to refuse. And we told that assent towards membership. I remember in my club some years ago when I was in District 9110, a prospect did something wrongly in Owerri and thought the word had forgotten. And he now came to my club in Lagos to want to become a Rotarian. Somebody brought that Owerri thing and was able to give us what the person did in Owerri. Quietly, the person was refused membership and he was informed. But let's assume that person meets our terms of becoming a member of the club and it's communicated to the person. At the point of the person meeting the club's financial obligation, meeting the obligation for membership, that person is to be reported immediately by the secretary of the club. I can tell you now, some club presidents have inducted persons in July, August, September. They are keeping them for January because of semi-annual. Please, if you go back to the 24 words of the 4-way test, is it the truth? That is just the only thing I want to ask most presidents in the House. Why do you keep those persons out of the portal, until January because of semi-annual? My dear fellow Rotarians, and especially to our club presidents and to those that will still be on that seat one day, know that the process of qualification to membership ends at the point when the prospect meets your membership requirements, not when you induct. Induction of a Rotarian is ceremonial. It is as if you are having a convocation. Yesterday in Benin, the University of Benin had a convocation for 49th and the 50th set. Those persons that were convocated, the Senate has approved the results from their department. And those persons have been known to have graduated. They just did a ceremonial, outing yesterday. The actual fact is that some of them 2-3 years ago, they have already gotten their degrees and are even working and they've even finished their service. That is how our membership is also. But what we now have in Rotary clubs, not until the DG or the club president pins the person, he does not call that person a member, not knowing that it is at the point when the person meets the obligation that the membership begins to count. My dear fellow Rotarians, we move quickly to attendance. I won't want to dwell on this too much, which is also on Article 10 of the Standard Rotary Club Constitution. The 60% of presence in club fellowship and the fact that we need to make up. It's unfortunate now that because of the way Rotary is being managed, the transmission of the attendance sheets and the attendance records of clubs are not being done by most clubs to the district governor to publish on the district governor's newsletter. I remember when I was the president, we always transmit that in the first week of the new month to the district governor for publication. We need to understand that even presence at club committee meetings can count for attendance. Presence at club service project commissioning or presence at club service projects activities can count for attendance and presence for a Rotary club. And there are also times that you can transmit the fact that you are not presently in your area where your club is domiciled and you're somewhere else, but you have transmitted the fact that you now fellowship with a club like this, and your presence in that club will count as presence in your club when the needful is done between the two secretaries of the club, but still based on the information passed to the other club by the Rotarian in question. My dear fellow Rotarians, this is another very key area in the management of our Rotary clubs, and this is the election of club officers. In less than 6-7 weeks, 6 weeks will be at the end of the year 2024. But if you go to the manual of procedure, if you go to the Standard Rotary Club Constitution, it is very clear that all clubs must hold their elections before the 31st of December. The first half of each Rotary year is when elections are supposed to be done. My dear fellow Rotarians, 5 key positions are listed in the Rotary Club Constitution and even in the Standard Rotary Club Constitution and the recommended Rotary Club bylaw. And these positions are that of the president-elect, the secretary, the treasurer, and the IPP. The other positions added on the club board vary from club to club. Some clubs elect their vice president and they are on the board. Some clubs even elect a standing sergeant at arms and they are on the board. But this constitution of the club board and the selection process, election and everything that has to do with election of officers of a Rotary Club for the incoming year is determined by the club's bylaw. Whatever the club does is to be guided by the bylaw of the club. What works for Abuja Metro might not work for the Rotary Club of Osogbo, but there are times we can take the bylaw of another club, we look at it and we tailor ours towards it, especially the ones that are workable. What am I saying this evening, my dear fellow Rotarians, is the fact that before the 31st of December, if you are in a vibrant and an effective Rotary Club, you must hold your elections before the 31st of December. There is another component of elections, but I won't talk about that now until I get to meeting types and procedures. My dear fellow Rotarians, we come quickly to another area that is very important to us as Rotarians, and that is the responsibilities of our Rotary clubs, the board of our Rotary clubs. The boards are the manual procedure, looking at the Standard Rotary Club Constitution and looking at the recommended Rotary Club bylaw. It is clear that the board is elected to manage the interest of the club and also to work closely with the president. They say work closely, not to fight with the president or to abandon the president. Two things are involved. They're either fighting or abandoning, but they are saying the club's board is to work with the president to achieve the goals of the club. And also, let's not forget that it's the duty of the club's board to review the club's policies, review monthly financial reports to ensure that the budget includes realistic amounts for club operations and projects. I just had a case in the club in the 9112. The president is asking, the IPP is asking for reform for some projects that were done when she was president, and they looked at what she submitted. She said she went to a hospital and donated agege bread to patients in that hospital. For a Rotary Club sharing agege bread, I don't know how that IPP was able to hang a banner to share agege bread, and now the club has refused to pay. But if I can tell you that project was discussed at the board level. If they were 10 on that board, 9 would have said no to going into a hospital to share agege bread. But let's also not forget that the responsibility of the board of the club is to approve expenditures. I use the approval process in my club, the Rotary Club of Abuja Metro, as an example. 13 members are on the board. The president comes on the board with every request to spend, and 7 must say yes. 7 must say yes before the treasurer will raise. Now they do transfer before the treasurer will initiate the process of transfer. My dear fellow Rotarians, it is the duty of the board to approve or reject membership, as we've spoken to earlier, and also foster innovative ways to make the club flexible, vibrant, attractive to new members, and also engage current members. This is very important to me as a membership champion. It is most important that we remember as Rotarians that the introduction of a member to a new Rotary Club is the responsibility of an individual. But the management of the membership of that new person becomes the responsibility of all, led by the board of the club. Fellow Rotarians, we'll move quickly to the club committee structure. This is a little bit of a big one to discuss, but Rotary has broken it very simply into 3 different options. And the option 1 is for a standard Rotary Club. A standard Rotary Club, maybe 40 members, 45 members, 30 plus. A club like this can afford to have chairs for the 5 area avenues of service, and that is where club admin must be represented, the membership must be represented, the public image. These 5 taken care of, and after these 5, you can also now have subcommittees all existing in the club. That is for a standard Rotary club. You can see the number of committees in option 1. Option 2, for clubs that are below 20, the small Rotary club committees. ROI understands that yes, there are opportunities of even having clubs with 7, 8 members. I remember when I was zonal coordinator, there was a club with 8 members. When the 8 of them came for a meeting, the whole of them were on their board and they were all also members of the club. And I asked the president of the club, how are you going to have a fellowship when all your meetings are board meetings? And the president took it as a challenge and moved the club from 7 or 8 to 27 at the end of that Rotary year. And today that club is about 50-something in less than 4 or 5 years. To be small could also be a challenge, but RI has a space for the small ones. And if you come to the mega clubs, that's the large Rotary clubs, enough to take round and to engage everybody. And this is where most of our presidents and Rotary leaders within clubs should look at very critically. Even more the committees, the more you will have the opportunity to engage members. When my president was presenting his proposal for the year, at the beginning of the year, he reeled out about 23 committees. And I still tell you, even with 23 committees, some persons were still complaining that they were not on some committees. And you know, for a president, you also push and look out for those that are active, that you know anything you give to them, they will deliver on. But ROI has been able to break down all this for clubs to manage their committee structures, engage members, both the newly inducted, and also give a reason to remain in the clubs to those that have joined us. Finally, before I leave this presentation, I will just speak on meeting types and meeting procedures. There are some things I packed at the beginning in the course of my discussion that I will just touch on meeting types. These are the 5 meeting types I want to share with us this evening. The first, the normal club fellowship that we know of. Weekly for some clubs and bi-weekly for some clubs. But the third of those fellowships is the annual meeting of the club. And this annual meeting of the club is when the club's incoming officers are supposed to be elected. But I found out that in the management of most Rotary clubs, we have forgotten the second aspect of the annual meeting. And the second aspect of the annual meeting is the presentation of the state of affairs of the club, looking very strongly at the financials. That is supposed to be an integral part of the annual meeting aside the election of the incoming officers of the club. But because of the politicization or the too much interest in who becomes what, we all forget that on that day, the president board led by the current president must present the half-year report of the club. Rotary is so bothered and so interested in how our clubs are managed. If you go read why we are having conventions in May and June, you will know that part of the reasons why our convention, Rotary International conventions, come up at the middle of the year. Our fiscal policies is also part of the reasons that were considered as far back as 1916 and 1917 to move our fellowship, our conventions to May, June, the middle of the year, when the financial reports would have been ready and for the year to start by the 1st of July. My dear fellow Rotarians, as I spoke earlier on committee meetings, I speak with my club in mind. My club's committee structure is so effective that sometimes committee meetings hold within the Thursday meeting and between the next Thursday. And some of these meetings are supposed to count for membership of the year, and not only counting as for membership requirement, it is the room where the club is being prepared. Almost all the projects done by a functional and an effective Rotary club is supposed to be discussed at committee level, and the report of the committee taken to the board for more discussion, and it will not come back to the club. But for us to go to the board, which is a third of the meetings that you're supposed to have in a Rotary club, board meetings, the Rotaries, the Standard Rotary Club Constitution is clear that a Rotary Club must have one board meeting every month. And it should be on the bylaw of the club. The particular day, it could be the first Monday, it could be the third Wednesday. It is a particular day spelled out on the bylaw of the club that on this day, everybody plans towards it, the president plans towards it, and all board members know that, yes, this day is our board meeting. But that does not mean emergency board meetings cannot be called. That does not mean that two directors cannot invoke their rights to have the president call a board meeting. The Standard Rotary Club Constitution and the Rotary Club bylaws are clear on how board meetings are called. But what is very clear and it's written in black and white is the fact that a club must hold one board meeting monthly, and the meeting after that board meeting, the first fellowship of the club after the board meeting is the fellowship, is the business meeting. The fellowship immediately after the board meeting is the business meeting. At the business meeting, the decisions taken at the board is brought into the club. But unfortunately, no time to now begin to discuss it the way you would have extensively discussed it at a club assembly. My dear fellow Rotarians, with what I've said, 12 board meetings are written, must hold. And if 12 board meetings must hold, you must have 12 business meetings. But that does not mean you cannot have emergency meetings of the board, or when two directors invoke their rights and make the president call the board meeting. Such meetings must, the decisions taken at such meetings must be transmitted to the club. And finally, in this line of meetings of a Rotary Club, it comes to the all-important club assembly. Very important, because this is where the club's policies, projects, and directions are given enough time to be discussed. Rotary says a minimum of 4. You can take it to as much as 6, but that does not mean that the club cannot be elected to have more of the club assemblies. But I can tell you, my dear fellow Rotarians, the club assembly is very critical. There could be no way to carry the club along with the activities of the club, the ideas of Rotary, while we all are together in this room, other than having that club assembly discussed. They're discussed at least once a quarter. Some presidents, I can tell you, they just run their hair from beginning to the end. The assistant governor might never remember that most of these clubs have not had the club assembly. They come every Wednesday, they sing songs and they go. They come next Wednesday, they sing songs and they go, forgetting that there is also a need, just the way you run corporate bodies, for you to go into a room with the directors, with the management team. Let's discuss the life of our club. Let's look at the future with our eyes on the history of the club to project and move into what the club should be delivering. My dear fellow Rotarians, just as I've tried to do to the objective set for me by the district leadership learning facilitator, by looking at the governance documents from the angles of the concepts, looking at some of the examples, running it down towards our members are elected, the structure of our committees and our meeting types and procedures. If we've been able to do that in the minutes that we've had time to listen to each other, and I want to say, if we're able to hit the bullseye, we should be saying thank you for your time that you gave towards having your presence felt at today's Series 3 of District 9126 learning